No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour. Need sleepy. Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calagione. It's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. A little slow for boxing, but a lot of other stuff going on. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located in St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by JKJ Boxing Magazine. Check out the new one. It's up on BillyCBoxing.com. And if you want to get a free copy, just click the JKJ Boxing Magazine cover up on the BillyCBoxing.com website. FYI, it's to the right side of the screen. And today's show is being brought to you in part by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can literally get a copy of it right now by visiting BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. It's a great read for everyone, not just boxing fans. It's a piece of boxing history. It's a piece of American history. It's a piece of Black American history. Read the book. Help me give this guy the credit he deserves. He was screwed back when he was alive because of the color of his skin, and it's still happening to today. So make sure you read the book and get on our bandwagon and get history written correctly. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. Relatively slow weekend for the sport of boxing. We got some fight results to talk about, including Antonio Margarito's victory over Alvarez. No, not Canelo Alvarez. His brother, his big brother. That's right, his older brother, Ramon Alvarez. We'll talk about that. We got a big challenge that was issued. Yuriorkis Gamboa, one of my favorite fighters, who it's a shame what's happened to his career. Just signing with the wrong people and not being able to get fights, etc., has called out Miguel Cotto. Now, we know Miguel Cotto is neck and neck with being boxing's biggest diva, along with Andre Ward. But Cotto Gamboa, interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Coming up Wednesday, we have our Blast from the Past, which is going to feature former world title challenger Joey Archer. And this is the same guy that retired the greatest fighter of all time, the best ever, if you will, Sugar Ray Robinson. Retired Sugar Ray Robinson once and for all. Also on Wednesday, we got Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazzard joining us. Now on Tuesday, tomorrow, Dax Khan's going to stop by, and he's going to give us a breakdown of a pretty important fight for the female ranks, and that's Heather Hardy, undefeated, going up against Shalito Vincent, who I believe is also undefeated. So make sure you tune in on those days. I got some emails to read, but first, joining me right now is Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Hey, good morning, Bill. How are you today?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Doing well. Had a good little weekend away and with the family, so we enjoyed a little bit of it.
That's good. Oh, I guess they're having some. Issues here, huh? Anyway, I'll look at that here in a sec. But we had a fight this weekend, and it was Antonio Margarito continuing his comeback. He fought Canelo's brother, his older brother, Ramon Alvarez. What's your initial thoughts on the fight?
Oh, I saw a fight. I mean, they got out there, and early on, I saw that Margarito was trying to get his range and distance with his jab. He did good. Ramon Alvarez, I'll tell you, he was good. He kept coming up short. He just threw punches, and I saw he was missing quite a bit, and it caused him with the height difference too to maybe lunge in a little bit more than he should have. I thought he would try to finesse and box his way in there. Each fighter tried to counter, but I thought Antonio Margarito looked very good. He dropped Alvarez down in the eighth, and I think he threw punches with more of a purpose and more of a target, hitting Alvarez. And like I said, I saw Alvarez lunging a little bit and just throwing punches for the sake of throwing punches, not really purposeful with a target in mind.
Well, I don't know what to think. I saw Antonio Margarito, clearly an aged fighter, fighting a guy that looked real good in the first early rounds. Ramon Alvarez, I thought, was getting to Margarito, but then he seemed to have run out of gas in the fight, and that's when Antonio Margarito started landing his jab and was able to outwork Alvarez. I'm not sure what to think. I definitely saw some damage with the questionable eye. Margarito's right eye is the one that is under scrutiny, and that was looking pretty wild. I'm not even sure how well he can see out of that eye, to be honest with you, Sal. But then he started getting a mouse under his other eye. The last couple of rounds were fairly close. The middle rounds were all one-sided, and the beginning rounds were one-sided the opposite way. So it was an entertaining fight. I mean, he's calling out Canelo. I don't know if he's ready for that. I don't even. I mean, Ramon Alvarez was slowly climbing on our rankings anyway. But I don't know. What do you think is next for Margarito?
I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be Canelo. And I'll tell you, Ramon Alvarez. Yeah, he was a gamer. He was a good fighter. I just thought that his brother looked a little bit concerned in the audience there a little bit. I think he knew his brother was fighting a good fight, but maybe coming up short, especially after the middle and later round. But I don't know. Margarito, he's showing he's got a little bit more finesse than trying to make his comeback. He wants to make an impression on people, but I don't think he's ready for a Canelo.
No, I don't think he's close to Canelo.
No, not the same class anymore now.
No, I don't know. What bothers me about Canelo is, and there's been some comments on social media about me being a little negative with Canelo, saying he's earned the spot to pick and choose and to take some easy fights and all this. And that falls under what I keep saying, Sal. It really concerns me that the younger fan base has accepted what is being crammed down our throats. And the old saying, you give the people what they want. So if people are accepting these fights, it's going to be interesting to see the buys for Canelo Alvarez's next fight against Liam Smith. I really don't think it's going to do very well. At the end of the day, I mean, if you want to be a big superstar in boxing, you got to fight the right fights. I mean, I don't know.
No, I think you're right, Bill. I'm not excited about that fight. It just doesn't really. I don't know. It doesn't. And you hear also, I read on some of the news media that was it Billy Joe Saunders is off the Canelo undercard for rejecting all the opponents they threw at him to defend his belt.
Yeah, I mean,
you believe it?
I believe it because
you have three top names, and if you're rejecting all of them, you give them a choice. But if you're giving names upon names and you reject it, what the hell you got the belt for?
Well, nobody. Listen, it's the way the business is today.
It's a business. It's not a sport.
No, well, it's always been a business. But the truth of the matter is that these guys, and you don't know who to blame. Is it the fighter? Is it the network? Is it the promoter? In Canelo's case, obviously Oscar De La Hoya said, "Hey, dude, you got to. You're in a position to make some money here. Let's do this, and this." And Canelo is listening. Billy Joe Saunders' case is like, hey, you got a belt, you're undefeated. We don't want to lose, we don't want to risk anything. And some of the names they were throwing out there, Gabe Rosado against Billy Joe Saunders. I would have loved to have seen that fight. As a matter of fact, I think we talked about that fight when they first were talking about it, and I said right then, I predict Gabe Rosado beating Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, I could see him not taking that fight, but he turned down, like you said, 3 fights, and they said, forget about it. You're not even on the card.
Forget about it. You want to fight, you want to celebrate. Crazy.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say there was a couple little things, nothing too much happening boxing wise, but I just read some clips. Did you see where Muhammad Ali's boxing gloves, the fight the gloves he wore with the first Joe Frazier to fight at Century Gloves, they were sold at an auction?
$606,000, I recall.
Unbelievable.
You know what? That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, for collectors and stuff, and sports memorabilia. The value of that is weird because you can't say, oh, this is worth that and this is worth this. It's what someone is willing to pay, and
exactly that.
Yeah, if they're willing to pay, then that's what it's worth, at the end of the day. So, but
100%.
Yeah, no, I just hope. I don't know who got that. I didn't read too deep, but who was selling it? The estate or?
I don't know. I mean, that's just it. I didn't read deeper than that. But I just saw the headlines. But might have been the estate. It's so funny. That was my old background, was estate planning with Northwestern and all that. And you see sometimes these fire sales, these estate sales. A lot of times it's the survivors of the deceased that left these estates. The taxes due on all these things and the money's due and what you owe the government as far as estate taxes and stuff. Far exceeds what the wealth may have been or so. Sometimes.
Well, he was worth a lot of
fire sale.
He was worth a lot of money, but what's always boggled my mind is you actually pay it. You drop dead, and you actually have to pay a death tax.
Yeah, Uncle Sam wants you to know from cradle to grave.
They want your
who
peace.
You were.
They want your peace no matter what, right?
That's right.
We
sometimes more than 33%, like a manager. I think it's 55% estate tax, maybe more.
I don't know, but damn the government. Let's see. We got an email here. This one's from Jesse. It says, "Hey Billy, a good win for Miguel Flores. An exciting fight. Is he ready for guys like Rene Alvarado, Billy Dibb, Orlando Cruz, Tevin Farmer, Leon Walsh, or Miguel Mariaga?" I really like the fight with Flores, and I'm actually going to talk about that here in a second. But to tell you the truth, I would love to see him fight a Billy Dibb or Orlando Cruz. I think that both of those fights are actually perfect for Flores at this point. He looked very solid in his win against Ryan Kilswecki on Friday night. So I was impressed with that. That's I agree with my man Jesse here. So thanks for the email, Jess. Another email. This one's from my man Brett. He says, "Hey Billy C and Sal. I originally wasn't going to watch the fight because I still believe Margarito should never be allowed to fight again based on the overloaded gloves controversy, but I decided to watch the fight anyway. I must admit, overall, I was impressed with Margarito's movement and letting his hands go. He used his jab well, and he used it to set up his right hand that he seemed to hit Alvarez with almost at will. That being said, I noticed that whenever Margarito would throw combinations, he would back straight back. I guess he meant to say he would go straight back and drop his left hand. His right eye started to take a beating as the rounds went on, as Alvarez cooed in to what was happening. I also found the first 2 or 3 rounds he displayed decent head movement and was slipping punches, but as the rounds wore on, that disappeared, and Alvarez was able to hit him with his own left hand, left hook, and the uppercut. I believe the Tijuana Tornado should hang up the gloves and get out now. He will probably fight the same in the future, and if he fights A-level competition, Ramon being a B-level, he will sustain significant damage to himself because he will get hit harder and more often. From what I could see, I don't think Alvarez countered very well, and if Margarito was in with a good counterpuncher with power, it would probably have been Coitens. I think the two judges who scored the fight for Margarito had the right score. Would love to hear your thoughts, guys. Keep up the great work. To be honest with you, Sal, and Brett, thanks for the email. I thought that Margarito looked extremely slow. Not that he was ever a speed demon. I do think that I didn't see any head movement, to be honest with you. And the first couple of rounds, I thought that Alvarez was dictating the pace, and it made Margarito look slow. But then when Alvarez tired, which appeared to be him tiring, that's when Margarito started looking good. He seemed to deliver his punches awkwardly at times, and I felt that he has slowed down a little bit. And like I said, he was no speed demon to begin with. When you add that with virtually no defensive skill anymore, and the fact that he's could arguably be fighting with one eye, and that he seems to be delivering his punches a little awkwardly, I don't know. If you step him up to the next level, I think he's in trouble. What do you think?
No, I think you're right. He hit it. I mean, I saw a little head movement, and I saw he had some lateral movement. I think which gave a little bit of a different picture for Alvarez to contend with. But this was a B fight in a sense, and you step up to the next level. I think he's going to be looking at big trouble. I definitely do.
Yeah, big trouble, especially if he gets in with Saul Canelo Alvarez. But
Canelo will hurt him. Canelo will hurt him, and that'll be lights out in that fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. Some fight results, we'll get to those right now. As we're talking about, Antonio Margarito improved to 40 wins, 8 losses, and 27 knockouts when he scored a 10-round split decision over Ramon Alvarez. He claimed a belt in that fight. It took place in Mexico. Margarito, the way the judges scored the fight, 97-92 twice for Margarito, which I felt were right scores. But then one judge had it 95-94 for Alvarez, which I thought was a little out there, Sal.
A little out there. That's why you have 3 judges. I'll tell you what.
I don't even know.
I didn't see that fight.
No,
I didn't see that fight that the judge saw.
Well, neither did that judge. I don't think he saw the same fight everyone else.
I don't think he saw the fight.
I think that sometimes you could make the argument that depending upon the view of a specific judge or whatever, maybe they're seeing a different fight. But I mean, from any view, I thought that that fight was pretty obvious.
No, it was, and like you said, early rounds, I saw, definitely Ramon Alvarez was trying to be effective, and he was effective with some early combinations, early body shots, early landings. But then, I guess Margarita settled into his rhythm, and he started establishing the distance with the jab, and he did. He set up for a good right hand, and it was just, it was a good fight. It wasn't a great fight, but it was a good fight.
After the fight, Margarito says, I want big fights. I want Cotto. I want Canelo. I don't want a rematch with Ramon. I'm ready for the big fights. Now I want to beat his brother, Saul. Ramon said, I thought that the decision should have went to me. I want a rematch. Margarito didn't win. The knockdown was more of a slip than anything. A punch did get thrown, but it did seem like that knockdown might have been a slip, but I don't think that was the difference in the fight. But anyway, also on that card with the broadcast was Pedro Campa, improved to 22-0 with 18 knockouts when he scored a 7th-round stoppage over journeyman David Bensi, who drops to 17-6. The official time of the stoppage was 55 seconds. One note I want to make is that one of my favorite fighters, Mikey Garcia, was the guest ringside analyst for this fight, Sal, and This is what I'm talking about. Mikey Garcia, as much as, he's a fan favorite, he's one of my favorites. The guy knows his stuff, well-grounded kid, very polite, et cetera, did not make a good ringside analyst. I mean, he's very soft-spoken, and you need, when it comes to that, it's not just what you know. You got to know the sport, and you got to be able to give an inside perspective, so to speak. But you also got to be able to deliver it. And at times I found myself straining to even listen to what he was saying. And I think the end result is it doesn't make very good for a future in broadcasting for Mikey Garcia.
No, it's a shame. I mean, you got to be a little assertive. You got to be able to really give your opinion, good, bad, or indifferent, and present it in a way that everyone's going to understand.
Roy Jones Jr. Fought, and he won again. He fought in Pensacola. Now, but going into the fight, he said this was not his last fight. He planned on fighting again. He beat up Rodney Moore to improve to 64 wins, 9 losses with 47 knockouts. The fight did go to distance. All 3 judges scored it 100-90, all in favor of Roy Jones. Rodney Moore drops to 17 wins, 12 losses, and a couple of draws. After the fight, which seemed to be more of a sparring session, where Rodney Moore was just, in there working with Roy Jones. I mean, that's the way it looked on the clips I saw. But after the fight, it was announced that Roy Jones had suffered a biceps tear, and he's on the shelf. And as a result, depending upon how long it takes for that to heal, that very well may have been his last professional fight. And if anyone asked me my opinion, Sal, I would say, Roy, it's time to hang him up.
Well, Bill, I'm not that unfamiliar with aging body parts and going back into the ring that we love. And I'd still be fighting today if my last fight 3 years ago, my comeback fight. I couldn't disclose it at the time because the fight would have been canceled. But I fought with a torn rotator cuff that happened, and this is what happens when your body ages. Sometimes the connective tissues, they fail, they falter, they're stretched. The explosion of power, stretch, and durability that's placed on the musculoskeletal system body is no longer the young stallion of the 20s or even your 30s. They stretch a lot, and they give, and tissues tear, ligaments, tendons, muscles, and this is going to be what happens. It just happens. Sometimes your muscle tissue is too strong for the insertion tissue to withstand and withhold it. It's an imbalance of different body parts.
All this talk about tissues, I feel like blowing my nose.
I was going to say, where's the Kleenex when you need it?
What are you plugging?
Did I ever tell you how I wanted to become a sports physician?
You're plugging the brand now? Come on, what is it with you? What are they slipping you money under the table? You gotta stop that crap. Come on.
Here I go again. We got to get more endorsements.
No wonder why
plugging everybody.
No wonder why I got to battle to get people as supporters. You're giving this stuff away for free, for God's sake.
I'm telling you, we got to start making a list.
on Friday night, which was the last fight night. On ESPN, at least with the PBC deal in place, they finally got their last fight done, and it's a question mark. Now, FYI, traditionally, Friday night fights ended around the end of August anyway, because ESPN has gone full-blown in the college football arena, where they pretty much broadcast a college football game every single night. So this isn't as panicky as it seemed to be when we talked about this last week. But nonetheless, they do have nothing planned for 2017. So we'll have to see what transpires between now and then. But in a main event, that was actually both fights were pretty good. Miguel Flores won, improved to 21-0 with 9 knockouts when he fought and won a 10-round decision over Ryan Kilweski, who drops to 25-2 with 7 knockouts. The way the judges scored it, 2 of them had it 96-94, and one had it 97-93. Miguel Flores looked good. I am interested in seeing him continue to move up in his rankings. That's for sure. He definitely will be moving up in the Billy C boxing rankings next time we update them, which should be in a day or two. On the co-main event, Yuriorkis Ugas improved to 16-3 with 7 knockouts when he scored a 10-round decision over Jamal James, who literally was a last-minute replacement, 2 or 3 day notice. Bryant Perella was supposed to be the guy, but apparently some medical issues where the paperwork was not complete or whatever the case was, and he was not able to fight. So Jamal James, who fought not too long ago, stepped in and fought. Now, the judges scored this fight 99-91, 98-92, 96-94, all in favor of Ugas. And to be honest with you, the 99-91 and even 98-92 scores were a little out there. I saw the fight a lot closer, and I would have accepted 96-94. I would have accepted a draw. I thought Jamal James, although he started off slow, was definitely avoiding a lot of shots from Ugas and was landing some himself. So I'm not so sure about that, but kudos to Jamal James putting his undefeated record on the line with a last-minute sub fight and coming up short. I have to gain. I've gained a lot of respect for Jamal James, Sal, because he did that.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. You don't know. Sometimes when you get a opponent that's going to be coming in, and like you said, a couple days notice. I mean, he knows something that nobody else is really ready for. No, so he's got nothing to lose. He comes in there, the underdog.
Tarzan, no, he no. Tarzan,
he knows. No. It was like
Tarzan, no.
My favorite commercial.
Yeah.
Tarzan doesn't know what Tarzan.
Yeah, I gotta keep screaming in my ear with that yelling. But big news, the big topic today, really, Miguel Cotto. Now we know Miguel Cotto is neck and neck with being boxing's biggest diva with Andre Ward. I personally, at this point, because Andre Ward has been in the news a little more, I give the slight edge to Andre Ward in this case, Sal. But now you remember Yuriorkis Gamboa. I don't know if you remember him. I'm a huge fan of him. He's a small guy. He was a featherweight world champion. He's got a record right now, 25 wins and 1 loss with 17 knockouts. Was a big-time amateur standout star, Olympic gold medalist, 2-time world champion, and he's currently ranked in the top 10 easily in the junior lightweight division, which is bigger than where his best weight was. But remember, junior lightweight max is 135. So junior lightweight, the maximum weight is 130. Well, check this out. He's called out. Miguel Cotto is still looking for an opponent. And we know that one of the front runners for Miguel Cotto's comeback fight this fall, since his loss to Canelo Alvarez, was the guy that was on his radar was Juan Manuel Marquez. And apparently that fight fell apart, and they couldn't get it done. Now, there's other rumor that they may put another fight between Cotto and Margarito. Everybody remembers that Cotto did avenge his loss, but Margarito did give Cotto a severe beating, one of the worst beatings I've ever seen Cotto take, with the exception of the Manny Pacquiao beating. So there is rumor that he takes a fight like that. But Gamboa has challenged Miguel Cotto. He said this: "I want this fight. I heard recently that Cotto's negotiations with Marquez have fallen through. I respect Cotto for all of his accomplishments and for the courage he possesses, but he's never faced a guy like me. My advisor, who's Zafino Ramirez, has reached out to HBO and Rock Nation, and a little FYI, he's also called our buddy Eric Botcher, who's the matchmaker for Rock Nation, and he's let them all know that they want this fight bad. And he says, despite Miguel Cotto wanting to fight his next fight at 150 pounds, I will agree to fight him at 150, but I will probably come in between 144 and 145. Now it's up to Miguel Cotto. Will he take the challenge? I'm not sure what I think about this fight, Sal. I mean, I love Gamboa, and to be honest with you, I feel it's a shame what has happened to his career, and that he's got to even consider fighting such a much bigger fighter. But it is a fight that could sell, and according to unnamed officials, HBO said that he would entertain that fight. Although they haven't commented, Eric hasn't commented, Rock Nation hasn't commented. Do you think that this is a legitimate fight, or do you think that Gamboa is just trying to get his name in the news?
Well, let's hope that it accomplishes both by the end result of this would be a good fight to have made. And definitely he's getting his name in the news right now. But, if the pen's pushed across the contract, let's see them sign and pick it up. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, Gamboa has the speed, to steal a fight.
Yeah.
He's got punching power, 17 knockouts of his 25 wins. But remember, these are all guys that were, featherweight or junior lightweight, or he had fought at lightweight too. So, and to suggest that he would fight at junior welter, actually 144, 145 would be a welterweight. I don't know. I mean, would his power go up? But the big knock on Gamboa was his chin. He has been hurt before. In the one fight he was that he lost, he was knocked out in. But he had been down on the canvas many times. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of the fight. I mean, these guys. It's bothering me to see so many fighters, big name fighters, taking on the least amount of risk fight, and people supporting it. I don't know if this fight would fall under that or not. I mean, we see, like we keep talking about, Canelo with Liam Smith. We saw Andre Ward fight Alexander Brand, and now Hemming and Hawing about the Kovalev fight. Then people who criticize Manny Pacquiao, he goes after a world champion in Vargas, and prior to that in Timothy Bradley. So I don't know, man. I think at the end of the day, Sal, like we've always said, it's up to the fighter. If the fighter wants to fight, he tells his promoter, "I want the fight."
Exactly. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, and buts. You tell the promoter, "I want to fight this guy. Make it, and let's negotiate and start the wax and start the ball rolling."
Right. I mean, a promoter could advise him, well, listen, if something doesn't go your way, you get robbed, you lose, your value is going to go down. And that's the part I think, we can cry about a lot of broken pieces in the sport of boxing, but I think that is the one piece that we should focus on as a sport as a whole. A loss does not mean the end of your career. With Floyd Mayweather, and Floyd Mayweather really used that undefeated record to his advantage. That was his MO. But there's only one Floyd, So to suggest that all these other fighters try to copy that, and networks use that as a guideline, or promoters use that as, I can only sell a fight unless the fighter's undefeated, that all has to be corrected. And I think the only way it could be, at least my initial thoughts, Sal, would be for the acceptance of the fans. The fans have to accept that a fighter loses and it doesn't devalue him. But more importantly, I think the fans have to say no to some of these just one-sided showcase type fights where an opponent has virtually no chance. Why are they watching it? Why are they buying it? Why are they buying a ticket? They need to speak loud. They got to speak up. They got to say, no, I don't care that a fighter has a loss or two. He's still a good fighter.
Absolutely. And like I said last week, I made a comment. A fighter usually could be viewed as being only as good as his last fight. Well, that's where the benchmark could be raised or lowered. It doesn't mean that fighter's ability to perform in his next fight goes down. I mean, he could be a whirlwind the next fight out, and all of a sudden he's back on the top 10 or in contention for a title. The fight game is beautiful on that level. You look at a fight, and sometimes it's like, it's not your night, Charlie. It's just not your night. You can't tell. I don't know. With all the odds and all the things going on, yeah, there's a favor. A fighter has a favor, is favorite in a fight, in a position, but we don't know what can happen. What's going through mentally? What's going through the whole system of getting from training camp to the ringside the night of the fight?
It's not your night. That's so true, and people have to remember that. Everybody has a bad day. People have woken up, and even though they got a good night's sleep, they feel tired all day, or something. In other sports, baseball, the pitcher gets rocked one night, and then another night nobody can hit him, or the hitter, the hitter goes hitless. And then the next time
the running back breaks through the lines left and right.
Or
one game, or he can't gain a yard the next.
Exactly. And boxing's no different. And the reason why we talk about that is I think Ramon Alvarez had an off night. I was shocked. That's what I'm contemplating. Is it Ramon Alvarez that had an off night and made Margarito look good, or was Margarito looking better than I thought he was in his last fight? Because, Ramon Alvarez isn't an awful fighter, but he didn't look that great on Saturday night.
No, he didn't. But you said, hey, could one fighter rise to the occasion while the other fighter's having an off night? Yeah, it's possible. That's what makes boxing so unique and so beautiful in the world of sports. You never know. You never know.
Right, and it just makes you wonder about that and him anyway. But a couple of WBA fights that was supposed to go to purse bid today, at least one of them isn't. The Super World Bantamweight title fight between Rasheed Warren and Jamie McDonald will happen. These two sides, Rasheed Warren and Jamie McDonald, both have come to an agreement which will be announced over the next couple of days. But today there will be two other WBA purse bids that will take place today. One would be the heavyweight fight that has been having a hard time to put together between Luis Ortiz and Alexander Ustinov. And then the other is the super welterweight champion Jack Culcay and Demetrius Andrade. Now, both of these fights will be going to purse bid today at 11 a.m. in Panama. What's your thoughts on these fights?
I'll tell you, I think this whole bidding process and trying to put the value to it, I think that's some good things, and yeah, they should be good competitive fights. And I think that this whole purse bidding and all this stuff here is again, it's up to the fans to drive it, to see what's going to be marketable, what's going to be buying the tickets, what's going to be happening. This
has always been my knock on my buddy Joe DeGuardia and his co-promoter for Demetrius Andrade, as a matter of fact, Banner Promotions. These guys never invest any money. Both of
not
them.
Their money.
No,
That's
exactly.
The whole thing. It's other people's money. And you know what? They try to sell the sizzle, but can they deliver the steak?
Well, the bottom line is, with all your little sayings there, the bottom line is that they should have had this fight here in the States. Now, most likely what's going to happen with this fight is that it's going to be on the other side of the pond, and that's always been my big hang-up with Joe and Banner, with Star Boxing and Banner Promotions, Art Puello, because these guys never write a check. They never want to do anything. They just want their cut. And Demetrius Andrade is a perfect example, because this is a guy that could arguably be the most talented junior middleweight in the division today. And he virtually has to wait for the scraps, and who knows? The purse bid now means the highest bidder. So if those two don't open up their checkbook, somebody could get this fight pretty cheap, and Demetrius Andrade and Colque would have to fight. But anyway, joining us right now with some social media input is Dax Khan. What's up, Dax?
Hey, what's up? Good morning,
Morning,
everybody.
Dax.
Is it hot down there, Sal?
Dax, let me tell you something. This damn Yankee, I'm Milton. I'm telling you, I'm going to open up a pizzeria when it's summertime down here. I'm going up to Alaska. I'll open up a pizzeria there and call it Eskimo Pie.
There you go, Eskimo Pie Pizza. All right, on to today's topic. Yuriorkis Gamboa, remember, Bill, in his last fight that we've seen him with Hyland Williams Jr., he looked mediocre. I don't understand where this, we're calling out Miguel Cotto.
You know why, Dax? Because it's sad. This guy, I don't understand, and I was talking about this before, and I've always been a big fan of Gamboa, but it's sad. Nobody wants to fight him. He's in with the wrong people. They're not getting him the right fights. They're not paying for the right fights. Whatever the case is, I mean, to me, I see this as we have no other choice. We have no other fights. We got to get this guy a fight. And there's no way he should be fighting Cotto, not for any other reason than the size difference, right?
I just really don't think Yuriorkis Gamboa has in him what he used to. I don't know if it's, with the fact that he moved up, but, when we seen him against Hyland Williams Jr., no disrespect to him, but that's an opponent who should have been a showcase opportunity for Yuriorkis Gamboa, and it really wasn't. It actually turned out to be a tougher fight than anyone expected, and it actually was the fight that had the most annoying fans that I have ever been to in all my 20-something years involved in the sport.
Well, the thing is, it's the size.
You remember those guys, right?
No, yeah, I do remember those guys. But the thing is that the Gamboa fight, he I know it was, I liked seeing him live, but Gamboa, he was a featherweight, man. He's fighting at junior lightweight, and even that was down. Didn't he fight at lightweight? Didn't he fight at junior welter? Didn't he get knocked out at junior welter? Wasn't that the fight that he got knocked out?
No, that was lightweight when Crawford was the lightweight champion.
Okay, all right.
I believe that was at lightweight.
Yeah, okay, but for some reason I thought he had gone up as heavy as junior welter.
Yeah, I believe that was Crawford's first title defense because, remember, after he came back from beating Ricky Burns, Crawford had insisted that his first defense be in Omaha, and Yuriorkis Gamboa was the opponent. Now, Gamboa is a lot like Erislandy Lara lately. He's calling out everybody. He's just looking for that big fight, as you stated. Back in July, there were reports that he was going to go down and he was going to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. Now, Vasyl Lomachenko, speaking of him, the big fight with him that was supposedly, hopefully going to take place in 2016 was going to be against Francisco Vargas, the WBC title holder. Now word is that Francisco Vargas is going to be off, and he's not going to return until sometime late 2017 and seek a fight against Vasyl Lomachenko. And the WBC is actually, Vargas' team is urging the WBC to have Takashi Miura and Miguel Roman to fight for the interim title until he makes his return. Do you think the fight with Orlando Salido really took that much out of Francisco Vargas? He needs that much time off when he just built up some momentum for himself?
I don't know. You can't tell anymore with some of the moves with management and networks and promotional companies. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like Sal and I were talking about earlier, they're giving the fans what they accept. Not what they want, what they accept. Like there are actually people on social media that I've seen on our own accounts defending Canelo Alvarez, saying that he deserves to cherry pick some fights. I don't understand that. I mean, when did fans in boxing decide that, as rare as the fights are, these aren't guys that are fighting every week. If they were fighting every week, you could see it, but they're fighting twice a year. When did boxing fans accept the fact that every other year they'll fight a real fight and we'll get treated to showcase fights in between? I just don't get it.
Well, there's a few Mexican fans that didn't appreciate that because while Canelo and Oscar De La Hoya sat ringside as Ramon fought Margarito, the Mexican fans were taunting Canelo. There's actually video of them where you can obviously see where Canelo and De La Hoya were pretending that they didn't hear him, but some of these fans were no less than 2 seats away screaming out there, "Fight Golovkin. Don't be scared. Fight him, Canelo. Don't be afraid."
That's great. I didn't catch
That's
it.
great.
I
Wow.
watched the whole fight, and I was impressed with the crowd there. I guess Margarito definitely still draws, but it looked like a packed house. But I didn't catch any of that. I might have fast forwarded it in between rounds if they were focusing on that. But I did see some clips of Canelo looking pretty pissed off at his brother, who just seemed like he was in there for a pay. He seemed like he lost. To me, it looked like he got tired, Dax.
Yeah, Canelo's the only one of the Alvarez brothers who really has any talent. And don't get me wrong, Rigoberto, Ramon, they're tough guys, but they're definitely not on the world caliber elite level by any means.
Yeah, well, Canelo, I'm glad to hear that the fans
I'll
were
have
pissed.
to get that video out to you.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff because
Speaking of videos, I know we spoke about this, and I know this has gotten a lot of flack. And when we speak about how fans are led to believe whatever's fed down them, Deontay Wilder, a guy who I like, and we spoke about this often on the show, Bill, that if given the opportunity, we believe he would actually step up to face a lot of these opponents that people would like him to. Now, some guy's name is DJ Abs something or another. He made a highlight video of Wilder stopping Audley Harrison, Kelvin Davis, Jason Gavin, and he actually highlighted the video, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, and Joe Louis all in one.
yeah, I know we talked about that on the phone. I thought that actually was a dream that I had that that someone actually didn't say that. I mean, listen, no disrespect to Deontay, but you can't mention his name with those three.
This is how ignorant some fans are, how you really can't take it serious, and how easily they're brought up, they're convinced. In defense of Wild, in defense of those comments, there was a fan out there who on social media named Darius Woods. He posts on there, Tracy Peterson will tell them, give a worthy boxer, give him somebody's worth it. Everybody always giving athletes from South heavy criticism, but real matchups, y'all claim it's like sec in every sport. Just let us be great. Get your favorite boxer, Wilder, pain ass, beating Ali, Tyson, ha ha ha, beat them all, Lewis too. Now, this is the type of fans that we have. That they're the ones. This is why when people come out with comments like that, that's why they're able to sell stuff to the public so easily. When people have that type of mindset and they're defending their fighter.
Well, he sounds like a real intelligent guy, doesn't he, Sal?
I was going to say, was that reading from a phonics book?
Yeah.
I read that word for word.
No, I know. No. We get it, Dax. We know you read it the way it sounds, and that's what I'm saying. He sounds like
Dax. I was getting worried about you, or is he reading it like it was written?
No, he read it the way it was written, and the truth of the matter is this is the kind of intelligence level we have, unfortunately. Of people that are making a stand for boxing and try to, I can't stand it. These are the same types of people that say to me that I don't know boxing. I mean, come on. Give me a break. That guy, but.
Last two things I got. Floyd Mayweather has been over at the Olympics.
Who?
I heard that.
Who?
He's stopping by Rio.
Wait a minute, I've heard of that name. Didn't he fight in the 80s?
I wasn't going to say the name, but I was going to bring that up. But go ahead, Dax.
Scouting the British light heavyweight Joshua. How do you say his last name? Buatsi, Buatsi. The light heavyweight. Floyd Mayweather's scouting him. Looking maybe might sign him in the future.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This name Mayweather you speak of, that he fought in the 80s, right?
Yes. Roger and he has the brother,
that's right. That's right. He had a couple of brothers. He had a couple of brothers too. That's right.
And one last thing, you spoke about the gloves with Ali before, and those were actually sold by the world-known memorabilia collector Jeff Rosenberg, who owns TriStar Memorabilia Company. He had sent it over to Golden Auctions, who had put those gloves in auction in Atlantic City, I believe it was earlier this month or late last month, and they were hoping it was going to sell for $1 million. I believe Rosenberg, a couple of years ago, he bought them for $388,375 is $218,000 less than the $606,375 that were actually paid for. Believe it or not, in that same auction, the jockstrap worn by Joe Frazier for that fight was sold for $10,200.
Did they did they wash it? Did they wash it?
And you know what? That's not the highest price for a pair. That's not the highest price paid for a pair of Ali gloves. Matter of fact, in 2014, the gloves that Ali used for his first fight against Sonny Liston in 1964, they sold for $836,500.
Didn't the Foreman one sell for more too?
Now, I don't know about that, but I just know the highest price ever for a pair of gloves and Ali gloves were at $836,500. A few years ago, I do remember the Foreman gloves going up for sale and being sold. I can't recall exactly how much they were.
Hey, Dax, before you split, I wanted to get your thoughts on the WBA purse bid deals. Rasheed Warren and Jamie McDonald have reported to the WBA that they've come to an agreement, and the particulars will be announced shortly. But they're still going to purse bid on two fights today. I mentioned, just as you were coming on, the Demetrius Andrade and Jack Colque fight, which I'm a little disappointed in Joe DeGuardi and Artie Puello, who co-promote Demetrius, for not stepping up and trying to get a deal done and having that fight here in the States. But my main question really falls back on what is really getting confusing, where the WBA is still holding a purse bid for Luis Ortiz and Alexander Ustinov. Now, wasn't this fight already signed, sealed, and delivered, and then it was Ortiz who decided that he wanted more money and that he didn't want to be with Golden Boy anymore? I mean, why are they continuing this purse bid? Do you foresee Ortiz being stripped of his interim title? Or what? I mean, I'm losing. I've lost the bouncing ball on this situation.
I really don't know what the. I think Luis Ortiz, he might understand the fact that his time is short. Not in terms of his skill set is fading, but he's getting older, and he really hasn't made a big money fight. So as far as why that was, he decided that. He wanted more money. He didn't want to be with Golden Boy. I'm not really, sure. I do know that was another fight that was supposed to be on the undercard of Canelo and Smith, and the bid was canceled. It was going to be the co-feature. I do know this much, and I've learned this, through communicating often with the BBBFC, that you mentioned before earlier about, who to blame, the fighters, with the promoters, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of these promoters, what they do is they seem to overbook themselves, and I notice that when I get the BBBFC schedules of purse bids and when things are going to be, and when the fights are supposed to go up, when they win a purse bid, they let these fights sit and they linger. They go, they put out a purse bid, as you stated earlier, they try and get it for as low as possible. And then these fights just sit nowhere, and they linger, and they let these guys sit on the shelf because they figure at some point in time, hopefully, the proposed opponent is going to drop out, and they can get somebody better and make more money, and it's only hurting the fighters themselves. And the promoters aren't suffering whatsoever because if those fights don't go off, they end up paying nothing. It's basically just a blank piece of paper that says, I'll pay you if.
Well, the Luis Ortiz-Ustinov situation actually was in play prior to Ortiz's last fight. If you recall, that fight was supposed to take place and then fell apart, and then they allowed Ortiz to fight, his last opponent, and then and then they went back to the Ustinov fight, and that's when all the other political things happened among Golden Boy and Ortiz. So it's just kind of funny to see the WBA is still pushing for that fight. Now, the other issue here is that the WBA is trying to combine all the BS titles, which, I applaud them for, and we'll see, how quickly they can do that. And one of the things is this fight. This is one of the fights. The only negative is that what's his name? The kid that ended up not even fighting. Shigaev, what's the kid out of Chicago? Oh, God. Anyway, he's going to be fighting the champ. He hasn't even fought anybody. Who's the guy that got all those title shots and he's come up short? I'm going
From
blank.
Chicago?
Yeah, he fights. He's Puerto Rican, I think, but he fights. His hometown is Chicago. Why can't I think of his name? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I think Luis Ortiz was hoping for the winner of Ruslan Shigaev and Lucas Brown, and I do remember that when after that fight took place, or right before the fight, having a short conversation online with Lucas Brown, asking about who the winner is going to face, and he said he didn't know, and then they were hoping that somebody was going to fight Tyson Fury, who is the super champion. And and that's where all the money is. And so then what happens is, we know the PED situation. So that title was up in limbo. And if at any point in time, the right thing should have been is to install Luis Ortiz as the regular champion and give him the opportunity to fight Tyson Fury when that opportunity was open. But, so things have kind of fallen apart. Luis Ortiz, in a way, has been kind of treated unfairly. So you really don't know who to blame. As you stated, it's just a conundrum, and I don't think anybody has the right answer on this one.
Well, the guy's name I was forgetting was Freza Cuendo. Now, Freza Cuendo actually is the guy that Ustinov and Ortiz are fighting to fight. The Shigaev Lucas Brown fight, Lucas Brown beat Shigaev, but then they claim that he tested positive.
He failed the test.
Right. And then something happened where they stripped Shigaev and they ended up giving the title or somehow given that priority of that position in their so-called tournament to Freza Cuendo, who never even fought. If you recall, he went at the last minute, despite being having some personal mental issues with some family issues that were going on. He couldn't focus. He went and fought Shigaev anyway and lost, and had an appeal and actually won the appeal. Felt that he was robbed from the promoter, et cetera, and he was bypassed when Lucas Brown got the shot at Shigaev. And then as the smoke clears, Lucas Brown, is supposedly test positive. Shigaev is stripped. Luis Ortiz is the interim title. Tyson Fury's in position to fight Klitschko again. And Freza Cuendo gets to fight the winner of Ustinov and Ortiz. And then the winner of that fights the Tyson Klitschko winner. So, I mean, that's how it's unfolded. Freza Cuendo lost, and he's got the what you could argue is the top spot in the WBA.
And the only reason why Freza Cuendo got that, if I'm correct, got the fight against Ruslan Shigaev in the first place, and that was, I think, a little over 2 years ago, and because he held one of their minor titles. I think he held the NABA title or something like that, or their Fed Latin or one of those versions, when he had beat Derek Rossi. And I know he waited around for Shigaev, and he lost that majority decision there. But since then, Freza Cuendo has really done nothing, so I don't really understand how that makes him relevant at all when all the other guys out there have been active. Unless you're active, in my opinion, what do you matter? If you have been out of the sport for 2 years, you're dropped out of the rankings altogether. That's the way it's supposed to be anyway.
1 year.
So Cuendo right now is nothing. He's really a non-factor.
Right, I know, and it's 1 year they're dropped out. And Freza Cuendo was scheduled to fight Shigaev again, and then he injured himself. And then that's when the Lucas Brown, they took him instead, and then everything got all messed up with the positive, and Freza Cuendo's name is still on that tournament, but it's going to be interesting to see.
In the end, I still think, Bill, I just leave it at that. I still think that Luis Ortiz is getting the short end of the stick there. And I can understand why that would make him want to leave Golden Boy Promotions when you factor in everything. And this is a guy who's undefeated. He's beaten everybody they put in front of him, including, some very good fighters. Brian Jennings, he was hoping that was going to lead to something bigger. He stayed busy. He fought Tony Thompson. He, did his job in that fight. And then now, he's left hanging in the wind while all these other guys, such as a Freza Cuendo, is being considered. How is that fair to him, and how's his promoter doing the right thing by him?
Well, I think that a win over Ustinov, which I think would be easy for Ortiz. No fight is easy, but, from just speaking, that has to set him up for a big money fight. I think he's foolish to try to dodge Ustinov. So, And as far as Oquendo, that's a workout session for Ortiz. I think Lucas Brown beats Oquendo. And you're right. How he got that, I think it was one of these last available, the highest ranked guy at the time that was available or something, and he ends up getting into that pissing contest because of the Shagayev and in Russia and the pay me, not pay me, you owe me, I was suing you. It got pretty dirty there. But anyway, Dax, thanks for the insight. We'll be looking forward to your breakdown tomorrow. Heather Hardy against Sholito Vincent, a big fight in the women's ranks this weekend coming up. So we'll look forward to that tomorrow morning.
That's going to be an exciting fight, and it's going to be. I think it's going to steal the show. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow too. Maybe you, Sal, can talk about this as I get off the air. Teddy Atlas stated on Friday when he was speaking about Errol Spence that he is the one fighter that he sees no weaknesses and he sees no flaws in Errol Spence. Now, is that high praise from Teddy Atlas stating how good Errol Spence actually is, or was that Teddy Atlas kind of just selling the fighter because he was on hand?
I think he read the Dax Khan opinion of Errol Spence Jr. on air. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you love him, too. You think he's the best, right, in the welterweight division?
I think in another couple of years he's going to be, yes.
I see him and Terrence Crawford meeting in the ring at some point.
That'll be.
I see Keith Thurman dodging him like he's got the plate.
Well, Keith Thurman fights scared. He's tough before and after fights, but during fights, I want to see a rematch with Porter. But I don't know. I was a huge fan of Keith Thurman, but I don't know what to think now. Although it was a great win over Sean Porter, got to give him credit where credit's due.
This is true, and I'll speak to everybody tomorrow.
All right, Dax.
Take care, Dax. Thank you.
Yeah, that Errol Spence Jr. is a great. I'm not gonna say he's a great fighter yet, but he's on his way to greatness. He's a great prospect. Great. Well, he's I don't know. It's so hard to say things now because.
You gotta be careful.
They're 25-0. They never fight anybody. I'm not suggesting him, but fighters today 25-0. They don't fight anybody, and people are anointing them Hall of Famers already. But anyway.
I know.
I don't know, Sal. I got our trivia question right now.
Okay.
And that is one that's been floating around. Henry Haskup's got everybody stumped here. So I'll read it again. What did Ted Kid Lewis, Dave Shade, and Young Stribling all have in common? Now, the hint I gave, because everyone was giving me the answer of they each had over 200 fights, that's not it, okay? That's not it. But I'm going to give a hint. All three of them reached a certain plateau at a certain age. All right, so that's huge hints combined right there.
Huge hints.
So for the first person that can answer this question correctly by emailing me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, will win a great prize. What do Ted Kid Lewis, Dave Shade, and Young Stribling all have in common? The hint is they all reached a milestone at a certain age. So if you know this answer, email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com.
I was going to say they all reached the age of 35 by the age of 35, but that's not good.
There you go. And you know what I always say, wherever you go, there you are. But
I knew. I was baiting you for that. Yeah. I wanted to hear that again.
On this day in boxing history, on this day, August 15th, in 1911, a guy that we've talked about on the Blast from the Past, and a guy that I think is one of the top 5 all-time great fighters, pound for pound, of all time. On this day in 1911, Sam Langford stops Philadelphia Jack O'Brien in the 5th round of a scheduled 10-round heavyweight fight that took place in New York City. Sam Langford, the late great Hall of Famer, who never got a chance to fight for the heavyweight title because of the color of his skin. On this day in 1922, Johnny Dundee knocks out Danny Frush in the 9th round to win the vacant New York World Featherweight title at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, New York. Most places recognize the New York State title as the world title, but during this era there were other titles, there were other states, and actually other countries that would have what they called a world title, like the Pennsylvania world title, the English world title, in addition to the domestic title. So Johnny Dundee basically wins the vacant world featherweight title on this day in 1922. On this day in 1950, Ezra Charles, one of the most underrated fighters in boxing history, stops Freddie Bishaw in the 14th round to retain his heavyweight world title, and that fight took place in Buffalo. A lot of good fights took place in Buffalo that kind of flies under the radar, Sal.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. It used to be a good grounds for some good big fights.
And it's a really good location if you wanted to get into making snowmen or having snowball fights, because they end up with 40, 50 feet of snow every year in Buffalo. But anyway, finally on this day, August 15th, in 1987, Evander Holyfield stops Ozzy Osbourne in the 11th round to retain his WBA and IBF World Cruiserweight titles, and that took place in France. The fight took place in France on this day in 1987. Any final thoughts, Sal Rocky Senecola?
No, French. I was going to say French fight or French fry.
No.
I'll tell you. No, I think it was a kind of a slow last couple of days. A couple things we did talk about were definitely worth noting, and we're just gonna have to look forward to the next couple of weeks ahead and see what happens. I know September 10th will be here before we know it.
Well, I know that tomorrow I'm gonna give the I was thinking about doing it today, the secret of avoiding procrastination, but I figure we'll just talk about that tomorrow. What do you think?
Now that's a good one.
I mean,
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, well, I have the secret to avoiding it, but we'll discuss that tomorrow.
We'll discuss it.
But anyway, everybody, remember to tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel, and music, please, Sal. Until then, ciao, baby.